I stood there for a minute and then made a decision. Rhiannon and I hadn't talked about this, and I hoped I didn't screw everything up, but I had to take that risk. I pulled out my cell phone. She must have recognized my number. Michael, why are you calling at this hour? Penny, I'm about to ask you the biggest favor of my life. Please, please, don't ask any questions. Just meet me at the clubhouse in 30 minutes. What's going on, Michael? What's this all about? Please, Penny, I begged. I don't have time to explain. Please trust me. Just come in 30 minutes. I'm sorry, I have to go now. I hung up. As I set out walking toward the clubhouse, I wondered if she'd come. It was a slim chance, but I figured it was the only chance I had. When I reached the parking lot, there were 2 cars parked there. I pulled out my cell phone again and made another call. Frank, came Melanie's angry voice through the phone. Where are you? It's not Frank, I said. It's Michael. Michael, what do you want, and why are you calling so late? She demanded. I'm calling because I know where Frank is. He's with Rhiannon. What? She shrieked. Where are they? Listen, I said. Just meet me at the clubhouse as fast as you can. Then I hung up. Frank's house was several blocks away from the clubhouse, but she must have sprinted because I soon spotted her running through someone's backyard. I intercepted her before she reached the clubhouse. Where is he? She raged. Quiet, I commanded, grabbing her wrist. You've got to be quiet so we can catch them. I led her to the door to the clubhouse, which was unlocked, and we stepped across the threshold on tiptoes. As we walked into the lounge, we could hear murmurs and the rustling of clothing. By the dim light filtering through the windows, I could see Melanie's eyes grow wide. Quickly, I put my hand over her mouth to keep her silent, and then pointed to the light switch on the wall. She nodded her understanding, and we tiptoed over to it. I flipped on the switch, and the room was instantly flooded with light. With a startled yell, Frank tried to spring up, but with his pants around his knees, he tripped and fell on the floor. He scrambled to his feet again, frantically pulling his pants up. If you're enjoying my content, consider joining my Patreon community. By becoming a patron, you'll get access to full parts of my videos much earlier than everyone else. Plus, you'll be supporting me to create even more awesome content for you. Check out the link in the description to join now. Behind him, Rhiannon sprang up from where she'd been lying on the couch. Her dress was draped over the back of the sofa, and as she arose, she pulled her bra back over her exposed chest. She stood there dressed only in her outrageous underwear, and there could be no doubt in anyone's mind what had been going on. I had to hold Melanie back as she began to scream at Frank. You bastard, how could you do this to me? We're supposed to get married. Rhiannon clung to Frank's arm, cowering behind him in the face of Melanie's wrath. Now that he had his pants on, Frank's confidence returned. He glanced boldly at me and then turned to Rhiannon and asked her, What do you want to do now, baby? Oh, Frank, she replied in a little girl's voice. I just want to be with you. As she clung tightly to him, he put his arm around her protectively. Then he turned back to face us. Despite Melanie's distress, his first words were addressed to me. Well, Michael, it looks like you've lost another woman. I didn't say a word, but Melanie shrieked. What about us, Frank? What about us? The big man turned to her. Listen, Melanie, we had a good thing for a while, but it would never have lasted. Now I've found someone better, and I'm going to be devoting all my time to her. He glanced back at Rhiannon and then turned to Melanie. You can't blame a guy for wanting to trade up, can you? Even in her pain and anger, Melanie couldn't help but glance guiltily at me when she heard those words. Rhiannon turned around and deftly slipped on her dress. Then she turned back and put her arms around Frank's neck. He bent over and kissed her. Come on, baby, let's get out of here, he said, tugging her toward the door. You go ahead, Frank, she said. I have a few things I need to say to Michael. Besides, I don't want to leave my car here. Look, meet me at this bar. She reached into her purse, pulled out a slip of paper, and hastily wrote down an address. I'll be right behind you, honey, she added, stroking the front of his pants and giving him a passionate kiss. He looked at her doubtfully. Are you sure you're going to be okay? He asked. I'm sure, honey. Michael won't hurt me. He's not that kind of guy. Yeah, Frank chuckled. I guess you're right. With that, he headed out the door, and we heard him drive away. While our attention was on Frank, Melanie managed to wriggle out of my grasp. She screamed, "You be!" and ran at Rhiannon with her claws extended. Instead of flinching, Rhiannon calmly stood her ground. When Melanie reached her, Rhiannon took a quick step to the side, grabbed one Melanie's outstretched arms, and fluidly twisted it behind her back. She winked at me. I knew that self-defense class would come in handy. When Melanie continued to struggle, Rhiannon told her harshly, "If you don't calm down, I'll be forced to dislocate your shoulder." Melanie stopped fighting and Rhiannon pushed her away to face her. "Listen, Melanie, there are a few things you need to know," she said. "I could care less about your Neanderthal ex-fiancé, and I have absolutely no intention of joining him at the bar where he's headed." Melanie was dumbfounded. But why? Why did I seduce him? Because that's my profession. I'm a paid escort. I've been with dozens of guys like Frank. They all think they're God's gift to women, and they're always on the lookout for the next piece of ass. Do you think he loved you? The only thing he really loved was the chance to finally beat Michael at something. I'm sure he loved you, but he loved screwing Michael over even more. So Michael hired me to get a little payback from Frank, and at the same time to show you how it feels when a lover is unfaithful. It hurts, doesn't it? Melanie screamed at that, and then lunged for me. But before I could react, a figure flashed in front of me and shouldered Melanie off her feet. She sprawled awkwardly on the floor. Penny stood over her with her hands clenched. "You deserve that, Melanie. After what you did to Michael, you deserve a lot more." Melanie just lay there and began to sob. It looked to me like her feelings were hurt more than her body. Penny turned to face me, and I saw that tears were running down her face. "Is that really true?" she asked me. "Is she really not your girlfriend?" "No," I told her solemnly. "She was my partner in the honey trap we set for Frank and Melanie, but nothing more." "But she's so beautiful," Penny protested. "I could never compete with someone like her." Rhiannon walked over and put her hands on Penny's shoulders. "You silly girl, I was the one who never had a chance. He only had eyes for you." Penny looked over at me again. "You mean you never even?" Rhiannon interceded again. "No, Penny, he never did. I could never get his mind off you long enough to get his hands on me. And believe me, I gave him the opportunity." Penny didn't say anything, but she looked at me with shining eyes. Rhiannon grinned at us both. "I think it's time I got out of here. I've had harder assignments than this, but somehow this one has worn me out." At that moment, Melanie picked herself up off the floor. "What about me? Where do I go? I can't go back to Frank's house, not after what's happened." Penny looked at her thoughtfully. "I don't know what you're going to do tomorrow, but you can sleep at my house tonight. I'm going to go home with Michael." With that, she kissed me soundly. I took her hand and decided not to let it go. But something was bugging me, and I turned back to Rhiannon. "What about Frank? Where did you send him anyway?" She laughed. "That was the address of a gay bar I know. I wonder how long he'll stay there before he realizes I'm not coming." Then her face lost its smile, and she looked at me intently. "Good luck, Michael. You're a special man, and I won't forget you." She leaned forward and gave me a gentle kiss. I felt Penny grip my hand even tighter. Then Rhiannon turned to Penny, and her face assumed a fierce expression. "You treat him right, you understand me? If I ever hear you haven't, I'll come back, and this time I won't take no for an answer." The fierce expression left her face, to be replaced by a look I later realized was sadness. She reached out and patted my cheek. "But I don't think I'm going to get that lucky." Then she reached into her purse and stuffed something in my hand. "Goodbye," she said, and then turned and walked out the door, her hips swiveling magnificently. I looked down at my hand. It held 4 unopened envelopes.